Hey, Justin with Hindsight. In a previous video Kevin made, detailed some of the things we were going to do in 2022. Mark will put a link somewhere, I don't know, somewhere around here. He'll take care of that. Anyway, there's a link from Kevin about what we're going to do, and one of them is the Hot Rod Power Tour. So I was going to take the Lightning originally, but that was my first thought was to take the Lightning, and I got a little backlash from the peanut gallery. You know, a little bit of name calling, no big deal. Some other things that we probably won't even talk about on the video, but there's a few things we need to get done on the 5.6 in order to make a 2,500 plus mile round trip in this thing to get out there and back without hopefully any problems. Some of them were documented from the Kentucky trip. Some of them weren't. We had some brake issues that resolved, well, kind of resolved in a quick trip parking lot on the way out there. Had some drivability issues while I was out there that we really didn't talk about a whole lot. Kind of mustered through it and figured out how to get it going. It just didn't have any power. It'd get up to speed, but you hit a hill, you lose everything. So we're going to do some distributor work to it. We're going to do some carburetor work to it to take care of that. And then turning 3,000 RPM going down the road, and this whole thing just is not enjoyable. So took the 5-speed out of the Mustang and put that thing in here with a little bit of help and some wiggle room. We'll get that thing going. And there you go. Let me show you what I've got so far. All right, so here's what we've got on the distributor. I've got a new distributor out of a 300 6-cylinder ignition box, all the doodads, right? Old distributor that I had, old distributor out of the truck. The bore here is the same. The distance from the mounting point where it mounts to the block to here is the same distance. This is going to have to be bored out a little bit to fit onto this shaft so we can have put the right gear back onto the camshaft so it'll work. 5/16 oil pump drive, 1/4-inch oil pump drive. Long, short. You can change out the oil pump to a later model and it'll have 5/16 drive. Well, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to neck this down and at the same time shorten it so the length is right, 1/4-inch at the bottom. And then wire in the Duraspark distributor. If I have any issues with this thing, parts galore everywhere you go. I'll get a vacuum advance out of it as opposed to the Load-O-Matic, which is a problem. I'm also going to rebuild the carburetor, and there's a little bit of a modification you can do to it to change it and block the Load-O-Matic portion of it and make it strictly ported vacuum. And then I still have the option of going straight manifold vacuum. We'll see whichever one runs the best that way. As for the transmission, we've got the old 3-speed on the tree, out of it. There is the T5 out of the Mustang, bell housing. Adapter that I got from Modern Driveline makes it a little easier to put in. You can do some work to the bell housing, the factory bell housing, and get this thing mounted on there, but a little easier when you want to change things out or if you need anything. A couple of things that I need to do because I'm using the adapter, and this is a 92, 93 Mustang, 91 Mustang transmission. You can put a 94 input shaft in it, and it lengthens it about 3/4 to 7/8 of an inch, and then you put a new nose on it, takes up the additional distance for the adapter, and then everything fits in there nicely. All that goes together. S10 tail shaft housing, a little bit of a modification to it. You got to put the top plate on it with the shorter nose because it doesn't have the, it doesn't have the length here. Well, you move the shifter point from here all the way up to here. A little bit of a changeover. It's been documented pretty good, but I'll have some more videos on things that I find, and you can watch me you know, muddle through that, get it done. Shifter fork, I'm going to use the factory one. It is, but this diameter, where that diameter there, that diameter, a little different, right? The distance. Yeah. That's not going to work great. And I don't know if you can see that. That has had a fairly stressful life. Is that focusing in on that? Anyway, I'm sure you can, I think you can see that. So we're going to have to do some modifications on that to get it to work. Pilot bearing diameter, input shaft diameter, pilot bearing diameter is the same. So that's easy, ready to go. I'm going to take the Mustang clutch and pressure plate and see if that'll work. If that'll work, I'm going to use it again, off the shelf parts. You don't have to do a lot of changing and whatever. So, well, there's the plan. Oh, and the brakes. So as for the brakes, on the way out there, had a heck of a brake leak. Fixed that, kinda. Got it to work. Not fix it. But one of the big deals that I was having problems with is I put residual valves in. Put 10-pound residual valve for the rear drum brakes and two 2-pound residual valves, one in each line, going to the disc brakes in the front. At one point I changed it because it was almost too much residual pressure, even 2 pounds. I don't know if there's something else going down or what, but I'm going to have to really get in and look at this. Because when you're going down the road, you come up to a stoplight or whatever, start to slow down, well, if the light turns green, you're still slowing down. It's not, it's releasing, but it's not enough. You can tell it's still dragging, and I don't like it. So I took one of them out, I made it one line residual valve and teed it off to both calipers. Still a little better, not great. So I'm either going to get rid of them altogether, or I'm thinking about taking one of them apart and see if I can't make it, I don't know, a 1/2 pound residual valve. If I tear it up and it's no good, whatever, I'm not going to use it anyway. So it's not like I'm going to break it again. Reason for having those is I've lowered this truck so much that the fluid level in the master cylinder is lower than the fluid level, or where the fluid level would be to fill up the caliper and the wheel cylinders. So it makes it hard to bleed the brakes, or harder to bleed the brakes. And it, over time, you know, when it sits for a little while, that fluid has a tendency to run back, and sometimes it'll come out of the master cylinder, sometimes it won't. Sometimes it doesn't do anything at all. So I may, because I ran for years without this, but I was always constantly adding brake fluid to this thing. So I'll either just continue to add brake fluid, take them out and drive it, or I'm going to get it dialed in the way I want it. But it's definitely going to be a trial and error thing on that. So we're going to fix the brakes. We're going to put that distributor in, going to rebuild the carburetor again, clean it up, do some modifications to it. It was leaking anyway. Putting a 5-speed out of a Mustang in there, T5 out of a Mustang in there, get some overdrive, drops it. I don't know if I said it, but it's going to drop it from, at highway speeds, it's going to drop it from 3,000 RPM down to 2,040 according to the calculator. And then get a drive shaft set up for it. Little odds and ends clean up, and should be ready to go. All right, well, with that, more to come, because we're going to have a little bit of time to build some stuff on this thing. So we'll talk to you guys later.